Hello everybody, in today's video I'm solving the ShengShou 8x8. And this is the very first time that I've ever uploaded an 8x8 solve timed on here. In fact, this is the only time that I've ever solved the cube. And it's quite a lengthy solve. I think it's just under 15 minutes, but I never ever solved 8x8, but it's just highly requested. And I remember I promised somebody a while ago and they reminded me, so I'm doing it now for them. It's probably going to be sped up a little bit. I'm not sure about how long I'm going to be speaking about these things, so if it's shorter than the video, I'll just, shorten the video to this because I found myself probably wanting to speed up the video anyways, at least a little bit. So I got 3 questions or topics, more or less, from people on Facebook. The first one comes from Cooper, who wants to know a few questions about bigger cubes, which is fitting for the puzzle that I'm actually solving here. And the next one is from Isaac. I think that's how you spell your name. It's ISAAC, who wants to basically know, well, the question was really like, how did I meet my girlfriend and am I going to propose to her? And that's a big question people are asking me these days is, am I proposing her with the Oscar's treasure chest? I'll get to that. That'll be my second topic. And the last topic comes from Amanda, who wants to hear some things about cubing in public. What have people said or reactions I've got and stuff like that. And I thought that was a really good one. I got a really, really awesome story too about that. So let's get to the first one from Cooper. Big cubes. There's 4 sub questions that he wrote. The first one is, why don't I post solve videos about bigger cubes? And it's kind of a touchy subject. I don't really have a definitive answer for that. I think what it is nobody really requests it. And it's not something I'm really interested in. So I think that's why, if more people requested it, like somebody requested me to make this video. Actually, a lot of people did before, and I said yes, and I never did. And now people are starting to remind me, so that's why I'm doing it. So that's actually given me interest in it, was because people want to see it. But nobody ever really asked for it from me. They're more, concerned about watching me unbox it and review the puzzle than actually solving it. Now, as far as solving it for a video for me, I never really thought about it until I thought, well, you know what? I do commentaries over top of these things. Like, well, there's no reason why I can't do that. It still shows the solve, and I'm, keeping myself interested by talking about things I want to talk about. And by no means am I, a fast solver on the 8x8. I'm really slow. I think this is just a sub 15 minutes. It's pretty lengthy solve. It's probably one of my better solves on the 8x8 though. I don't think I've ever timed myself before. I think maybe I did once when I first got it. And I don't know, if people requested solve videos of these bigger cubes more, I would upload them more. But I just don't find myself interested in speed cubing these big ones. I mean, I was only a 3x3 speed cuber, and only in the last few days really I've become interested in 2x2 and 4x4, and I haven't really even touched the 3x3 because I've kind of been branching out, but I don't see myself going further than the 4x4. But that's why I don't, is because at this time I just, as a speed cuber, have no interest in these really big puzzles. And that brings me to the next question, is why do I like them and why don't I like them? What are the pros and cons of these big puzzles for me? And we're talking about these big cubic puzzles, not like the big cuboids that I have, but these kind of puzzles that you're seeing right now. And why I do and don't like them is very opposite from when I very first started cubing. In fact, it's completely turned around. I remember I think it may have even been the very first cube meet I ever attended in Vancouver. My friend Thomas, when I first met him there, he was in school and he asked me if he could do interview. And he was interviewing all the cubers there, on just how they feel about cubes. And he had these questions. And so I was a bit nervous, but he asked me the same question. Why do I like solving big cubes? Because at that time, I didn't like 3x3, believe it or not. I wasn't a speed cuber. I was just a solver. That's all I was. I didn't like speed cubing. I even would tell my girlfriend, like, I'm not going to become a speed cuber. I'm not like that. And then, bam, I'm a speed cuber because I finally saw the light. Anyways, back then, I liked it because it was more complex than a 3x3. 3x3 didn't seem challenging for me because I wasn't a speed cuber, though. I'd already learned how to solve it. I didn't need to refine my technique. I just used the beginner's method because I didn't care about speed. So I moved on to another puzzle, a bigger and more difficult one. So I moved into the higher order puzzles. And that was kind of my answer to Thomas was, it's just more complex. A 3x3 is just a 3x3, but, a 7x7 is pretty cool. But now it's a little bit different because I have a speed cubing mentality. Like, the bigger puzzles, they're just bigger versions of these smaller puzzles. And if I can speed cube these smaller puzzles and get a time and get that exciting feeling of, just getting so close to my PB a lot more often because the solve doesn't take longer, that's what I'll do. These bigger puzzles don't really interest me to speed solve because it's just the same thing. It just takes longer. And given the competition out there, actually, it's not even really about competition. I mean, there's more competition than 3x3 for me, I guess. But it's just, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like, it's not that I don't like them. I just don't like speed solving them. That's what it is. And the next sub question for this topic is my mains 4x4 through 8x8. I would say 4x4 is obviously my ShengShou version 3. I don't plan on getting the version 4, but if I ever want another ShengShou 4x4, I'm probably going to have to settle for that because they don't make 3x3, or sorry, version 3s anymore. And they're a little bit difficult to find now. They're starting to get bought up, and cube stores are trying to sell them before the version 4s just to get rid of them now. And so definitely ShengShou. 5x5 is ShengShou, but I only have a V-Cube. I've been trying to mod my 5x5 into another 3x5x5 and make a video, but I keep screwing it up. One time I lost the file, so I was like halfway through the build, and then I lost the data. So like I had to start over because I didn't have the footage. And then I screwed that one up, and now I'm waiting for another one. But anyways, in 6x6, I don't have a 6x6. I have one. It's turned into a barrel. I haven't actually shown that to you guys yet. But I don't have a 6x6. I don't have any interest. I think that all 6x6, am I the only one who thinks that there's not one good 6x6 on the market? And I'm talking about, like, it doesn't pop, it's like a 7x7 or an 8x8, like, it just doesn't pop. It's so well made, but the ShengShou one pops like crazy. You can mod it, but I mean, come on, when is somebody going to make a 6x6 that we don't have to mod? So until a really good one comes out, I just have no interest. And then a 7x7 and 8x8 are obviously ShengShou for my mains. And the averages on 4x4 is, about a minute 40 or so. I can get about a minute 35 if I'm really lucky, but usually it's a minute 40. Okay, and the other ones I haven't even bothered to time myself. What you see here is going to be like my personal best, I'm going to call, for 8x8 because I just never time myself. All right, so thanks, Cooper, for that. That actually cleared up a lot of questions people had. The next one is from Isaac. I think that's how you spell your name. It's how I met Aaron and will I propose and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going to elaborate more because if you look at the treasure chest unboxing I have, so many people think that I'm using it to propose to Aaron. I just think personally that would be the cheesiest, lamest way to do it. But I'm not going to go into how we met. That's just something between me and Aaron. But will I propose? And it's not that I don't think Aaron would say no. I think that if I was really serious about it, I think she would say yes. I think if I put up a good reason and just said, you know what, like, screw my views on marriage, let's just do it because I want to. It's what I want. If I really wanted to, I think that she would do it, but it's just a piece of paper to me. I can understand if you're a religious person and your religion tells you to get married, or you just want to do what everybody else does. Because I don't know, for me, and please don't come down on me for this because everybody's got different opinions on things. For me personally, I don't need to get married because I don't have to have that security in order to know that Aaron loves me. Like if I've asked people before, why are you getting married? And they say, well, it shows that the person loves me. And it's like, well, if you doubted they loved you, why would you marry them? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I understand that that's not always the reason. But when I hear reasons like that, I can't help but to think, what? Anyways, it doesn't really change anything for me either. Like, I'm still gonna feel the same if Erin was my wife or my girlfriend. Like, we already lived together and have for like a long time, So technically, by law, we're already common law, and there's not really much we would benefit from being married. And I don't know. It's just not really. It's not really that important to me. And after discussing with Aaron, it just doesn't. The same way too. It just doesn't. It's not super important. So that's where I stand with that. It's nothing that I would never ever consider. I just don't think I will consider it. It's just not needed in my life. That's all. And the last one comes from Amanda, cubing in public. What are my reactions? Things like this. Okay. All right, so I've got a pretty funny story, but I'll tell you some other things first. I used to take the bus to work and back, before I got a vehicle, and I would cube on the bus. Most of the time, this is back in the day when I had, only interest in 7x7 and like 6x6 and 5x5 because I only like bigger cubes. And I thought it was pretty funny because I worked in the construction industry at the time, and all these construction guys who would be on the bus, because you'd have your routine, your bus routine, and then I would come home and I'd see the same people every day and they'd see me solving a cube. And every time I would solve a cube, like a 7x7, somebody would be tapping me on the shoulder, and I'd take my headphones off and they're like, wow, are you a mathematician? Like, what is your IQ? What do you do for work? Because I worked in the construction industry too, but you know what? I had a locker at work, so I wore nice clothes on the bus to work and back. So I didn't look like a construction worker, even though I was. And so like after hearing the same question so many times, I would start telling people, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I am a mathematician. I am a total genius. I don't know how, and I would tell them that they would be like, is there a formula to that? And I'd be like, no, you just got to look at it and kind of envision it. And yeah. And so like, I would just feed them the stupidest lies, or I wouldn't even consider them lies. I was just having fun with them, But I mean, how many times can you answer the same question to people you don't know before you start messing with them? I thought that was pretty funny. And on the way to work, every morning there was this guy, and he would, I don't know if he stayed up late or anything, but he would sleep on the bus on the way to work. And I found it funny because a lot of the time he would sleep past a stop, and then he'd wake up and flip out because he didn't get a stop, and he'd ding the bell, and then he'd be late for work. And this happened quite often. I'd always kind of have a laugh at it. And if any of you have V cubes, you know how noisy they can be. The plastic is like, and they're just loud puzzles to solve, the way that they slide across each other. And a couple of times I'd sit behind this guy, and he would try to sleep on the bus, and I would be solving behind him. And a couple of times he turned around and was really rude to me, like, do you mind, man? Like, I'm trying to sleep on the bus. And I said, yeah, actually, man, like, I kind of do. Like, you like to be lazy on the bus and go to work, and then, just wake up and be at work, and you're probably really tired and not very, doing your job very well. Of course, this is, I'm judging him at this point. And then, but I like to stimulate my mind, so when I get to work, I'm very alert because my job is dangerous. And so me and him didn't really see eye to eye on it. And I said, it's not fair that you expect everybody to allow you to do what you want, but you don't let anybody else do what they want. Like, that's just kind of self-centered, and you know what I mean? And so me and him butted heads for a while, and it got to the point where we would be in line for the bus, waiting for the bus, and he would go in, behind me. So I would enter the bus first. He would see where I sat, and then he would move, and he would not sit by me. And so then I was like, oh, I see what's going on. So then I would wait for him to get in line the next day, and I would go behind him. And then I would sit close to him. I wouldn't cube right away. I'd wait till he's just about asleep. And then I'd start cubing. Oh, he'd just get so pissed off. He would get so mad at me. And then it got to the point where if I got behind him, then he would get behind me, and then I'd get behind him, and we'd just go further and further back in line until we're so far back in line that when we get on the bus, there's no more seats left, and we have to stand, and both of us can't do what we want. So it got really ridiculous that way. And don't judge me, guys. Like, this is like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to have fun. I like to play jokes on people too. Like I'm a little bit of a troublemaker. And so anyways, it got to the point where I was like, okay, I have to beat him. I have to conquer this guy. So what happened is I would hide around the corner, and then he would get on the bus, and he wouldn't see me. He'd think I'm sick. And I'd wait until he was a bit sleepy or something like that, and I could see him on there because the bus didn't take off right away. You get on the bus and it would sit there for a while. So then I would basically get on the bus and sit behind him, and he wouldn't know I'm there because he was sleeping. And then I'd start cubing, and it got out of hand, and people got really mad. Or, well, he did basically. Anyways, that's my cubing in public, and I see that I've basically taken up the entire video, which I guess I don't really have to speed up anymore. I'm happy about that because I thought I was going to have to speed up. And then some people would probably say, I really wish you didn't speed that up, Dan. I'd be like, okay. But anyways, that's the video. I got a 14.51.88, and I will see you on my next video.